Hey, it's Ben here from the Strength Factory, and this is the Strength Factory Approach episode number 1. And this series of videos is going to be where I tell you about how I do business, how I train people, why I train them like that, and the things that underpin all of the training and programming and coaching that I do, whether you're mountain bike, motocross, skiing, driving cars, whatever you do, okay, in action sports or just cool adventurous stuff. These are the broad principles and approaches I will use to coach you. So, for episode number 1, I'm going to talk about the importance of aerobic training. Now, to some of you, this may be a bit controversial, and you might think that aerobic training is just old school base miles and stuff like that, and it doesn't have a place anymore. Especially these days with Instagram and social media, where the value of a training session seems to be all about just how hard it was, and if you're not melted on the floor, hashtag beast mode and all that stuff, then it wasn't worthwhile doing. And I would argue that actually, most of the time, that isn't the case, and that most people, including a lot of good athletes out there, need to do more of this base aerobic work to build a broader foundation in fitness that will then enable them to go forward and perform at a higher level in the future. So, what is aerobic fitness? If we can imagine here, we've got this like little pyramid. It's really simplified, okay, because I like to work in like real English rather than the jargon. And this is my pyramid of fitness, if you like. And at the bottom here, we've got your aerobic endurance. And this is your ability, your aerobic fitness and your aerobic endurance is your ability to ride all day or go for a long, steady run or walk or ski tour or whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, it's at low level. And if you're using heart rate zones, this would be zone 1 and zone 2. So that low level training. The next level up the pyramid, again, keeping it real simple, is more about your lactate, okay, blood lactate accumulating in your body. You may have heard it's called the tempo zone and then also threshold. Okay, so you've got zone 3 and zone 4 here. Tempo and threshold are two different terms that you use for that. But basically that's that middle ground where it's harder than doing aerobic training, but we're not quite doing the real super high intensity stuff. And this here, this is where you feel the burn, okay? Your legs are burning, your lungs are burning, things are getting pretty hard. 6, 7 out of 10 for effort, maybe. And then at the top here, we've got that super high end, that zone 5 and 6, where, you know, really we're looking at efforts from about a minute and less, okay? Really as hard as you can go, from sprints to like roughly 1 minute, maybe a little longer, maybe a little less, okay? And this makes up, you know, the pyramid of performance, if you like. Now, it is a little oversimplifying things, but if you assume that the pyramid stays uniform, then how do we make the pyramid bigger? Well, we make the pyramid bigger by increasing the size of the base, okay? Otherwise, the pyramid becomes too top-heavy and unstable. And it's just a really good little model for explaining how that applies to your fitness. So here, if I want to improve these areas here at the top of the pyramid, which are ultimately the areas where, you know, high intensity races and stuff are won, and so we want to improve them, then yes, we need to train those, but in able to train those properly, we need to broaden that aerobic base, broaden the base of the pyramid out to this area here. So we broadened that aerobic base of the pyramid, which then lets us do the work here and here, and that gives us that increased performance at the top of the pyramid. Okay, and the bigger your pyramid, the greater your level of performance, okay? Whether it's, you know, short explosive sport like downhill mountain biking or a longer endurance-based sport or something like a all-day trail run or something like that. The same things apply. So what we've got is this, basic pyramid where your aerobic endurance props up the rest of the pyramid. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is that when you're working here, for instance, in this zone 3, zone 4, maybe on a long climb on a bike or something like that, and you're feeling the burn, people say, well, that's not aerobic work because you're starting to go a bit anaerobic. But even though that is the case, and that's why you're feeling the burn, the truth is that a lot of that work is still happening aerobically. And the greater your aerobic fitness and conditioning is, then the more of that work will be getting done aerobically, and so that reduces the stress and strain on your body and makes it easier to recover from, and is also going to let you develop that further, because then you can train harder and go a bit deeper. So, aerobic fitness, okay, I'm just going to try and sell it to you a little bit more now, because like I said earlier, a lot of people really neglect this, and they come in to see me and they start training with me, and we find their aerobic fitness is poor because they've been doing too much stuff at the top of this pyramid without the foundation at the bottom. So, benefits of improved aerobic fitness and conditioning are many, and here's just a few of them. So, starting at the bottom here, improved cardiovascular health. Anything that improves your health, especially if your cardiovascular system, can only be a good thing, okay? Next one here, low stress. Now again, for most people watching this, you're not a pro athlete. Most people watching this are going to be working a 9 to 5, maybe you've got a family, and you know what, in 2019, where we are now, it's stressful times compared to what humans are designed for. And anything we can do to reduce stress is a good thing. So what you need to remember is that whilst exercise and training should be a positive part of your life, it is also a stressor, okay? And so if you got maybe a relationship problem or problems at home, or you've got a young kid and you're not getting enough sleep, or your boss is being a dick, or you've got too much work on, all of that, then piling on loads of high-end work here is just piling on more stress, and there's only a matter of time before you break. Okay, so low stress exercise from aerobic training is really valuable in that sense for just keeping yourself healthy and be able to train no matter what else is going on in the rest of your life. Good form. So when we're working at a low intensity, whether it's in the gym, on a bike, or running, or whatever, you can always work in good form. You can be conscious of your posture and how you move. Whereas when we go harder and deeper, form often breaks down. We've all seen it on the rowing machine, maybe, where someone, you start with a really nice strong pull and a nice posture, and then it all just starts to fall apart when the heart rate goes high, and it becomes this like car crash trying to yank on the chain, okay? And training with good form is super important for looking after your body and for staying healthy in the long run. Improved recovery between efforts. So what that means is, let's say you're doing motocross and you go out and do a moto for 15, 20 minutes or whatever, and then you've got an hour or whatever until you ride again. That ability to recover between those efforts is down to your aerobic fitness. If you don't have the aerobic fitness, because all you've done is the high-end stuff, the glamorous stuff on the internet, then you don't recover, and then your second moto isn't as intense. Same on a downhill uplift day. You do your uplift and then you're riding back up or on the ski lift. How do you recover? You recover because you've got good aerobic fitness. Similarly, it actually improves your sprint repeat ability and your ability to do those high-end efforts there. So you do maybe a sprint as part of a race run in some sort in your sport, and after that sprint, your heart rate and stress and everything is super high, and we want them to come back down here, okay, ready to then sprint again. And that ability to recover between sprints, between hard efforts in training and in racing, that comes from improved aerobic fitness. So, in the long run, it will allow you to do more training and better quality training. Too many people are out there trying to nail themselves 6 or 7 days a week. They're not recovering, they're not resting, and because they don't have that aerobic fitness, they're not able to cope with that amount of training. And it's only a matter of time before you get halfway through the season and you're fried. And you see this all the time, and you read about it even with professional athletes, and they start the season really strong, but they don't have that base of fitness. They go too much of this, and they end up burning out midway through the season. Okay, now if you've got that solid base of aerobic fitness, then what it means is, down the line, you can do that really intense training and you can cope with it better, assuming that the other things are in place, like sleep and nutrition and all of that good stuff. fat adaptation. Now, this one is really useful, particularly for people who are doing longer duration sports, maybe mountain bike enduro or big days in the hills and things like that. And being fat adapted is getting your body to preferentially use fat as a fuel. And when we're working down here, that's what we're doing. We're using more fat as fuel than up here where you tend to use more carbohydrate as fuel. Now, why do we want to use fat as fuel? Because actually, even if you're lean, you've got thousands of calories of fat on your body. And by becoming more fat adapted, you're basically bonk proofing yourself. And bonking is where you hit the wall, the blood sugar goes low, you feel all a bit emotional. We've all been there, okay? And you don't want to go back there, especially in competition. So by doing aerobic work, where we're burning fat primarily, and also doing some fasted aerobic work is really useful, we can become more fat adapted. In a similar vein, you actually, even if you do quite a long aerobic ride, because it's burning fat for fuel, you have more of a steady appetite, whereas when you do the really hard efforts, the appetite just goes through the roof afterwards, which is fine. And I just want to remind you, we do this stuff at the Strength Factory. You need to do this stuff, but it needs to be on the foundation of that. And when you do this stuff, you should eat lots afterwards to recover from it. But after the steady aerobic work, your appetite should be quite under control. And for a lot of people out there, one of the biggest improvements you can make to your performance would be to drop some body fat. Okay, and so these last 2 points are really important for that. And then I guess the obvious one then is actually improved endurance. If you want to ride further or travel further or do your sport for longer periods of time, then as you probably already know, improved aerobic fitness is going to improve your ability to go for a longer time. And then finally, it's quick to recover from, which relates to the low stress one that we talked about earlier. So you can go out and do an hour or two of aerobic work and function pretty well for the rest of the day. Unlikely to feel too tired. You're not going to be sore. You could even, if you're that level of athlete with the conditioning, then you could do some aerobic work in the morning and you could go and do strength in the afternoon or something. So it's not going to take too much out of you. So that is the Strength Factory Approach episode 1, where I just want to just drill it into you that getting this aerobic work done is super important no matter what your sport is. Even for really power-based sports, there needs to be an aerobic base of fitness. Now, time is always the crux of the issue here. And people say, well, I don't have time to go out and do 3-hour rides and stuff like that. And I get that. I don't have time in the week to do that either. Okay, but small regular doses of this can have really good positive effects. So you can do 45 to 90 minutes of zone 1, zone 2 work and just chip it away a couple of times a week. It could be on the bike, the rower, the skier, walking, jogging, swimming. All of that sort of thing helps to build that aerobic fitness up. And you don't necessarily have to spend 5-6 hours out on a road bike, okay, like you're training for the Tour de France. So, if you like this, then let me know. If you didn't like it, let me know. I'd love to hear what you've got to say in the comments. And also, keep on scrolling through my channel. You're going to see a whole series of these episodes about my approach to training and how I do this, and more importantly, why. Thanks so much.